When thinking about portfolio construction, I'm not interested in hype. I am more interested in durability. And that's why I personally favor gold. I don't think it's a fair comparison. We see a lot of comparison in the market comparing both asset classes. So in today's video, I'm going to explain why the two asset classes shouldn't be compared with each other. To me, they serve different purposes. Let's start off with gold. Gold has a 5,000 years of history. It has served as a safe haven asset over the last 5,000 years. Um, it has proven its mettle through various market environments, through various interest rate regimes, and more often than not, it has sort of done the job for investors. Yes, we have seen some periods of volatility, but over the long term, overall, the average volatility has been notably, materially lower than the cryptocurrency. Another thing which is worth bearing in mind about gold is that gold is outside the system. What I mean by that is you don't need government's permission to hold gold. You can have gold bars at home as well. Yes, you need to worry about insurance costs, etc., but you get the picture. And another thing which is also highly important and relevant to gold is gold has structural demand from central banks. Central banks hold gold as a reserve asset on their balance sheets. As we have seen, many major central banks over the last few years have been accumulating gold, both in the developed world and also in the emerging market world, for instance, in China. So there is no such structural demand for crypto, if that makes sense. Crypto is also highly correlated. Bitcoin in particular is highly correlated with the Nasdaq index, tech stocks. I want my defensive asset to provide the required hedge during market turbulence. So if an asset class is highly correlated with the stock market, that raises serious questions on its defensive characteristics. Another point worth bearing in mind about crypto is it's very much regime dependent. Governments can make laws which can affect the price of cryptocurrency. Recently, here in the UK, there is a new legislation coming up later this year. So people would only be able, the investor would only be able to hold crypto in innovative finance ISAs. They won't be able to hold it in the standard mainstream ISAs. So you get the drift. Cryptos are vulnerable, susceptible to legislation, regulatory changes. Another thing around crypto is what I have observed is very much narrative driven. If the sentiment is strong, there is strong demand, and vice versa. Yes, you could make the same argument for gold as well and any other asset class, but there is, as I said before, there is structural demand for gold from the central banks, etc. And another thing I think which is quite important to take into consideration, particularly when we are comparing the two, is for crypto you need a proper infrastructure like grids, electricity, and you need a whole set of infrastructure, regulations, and those tools. You don't need any of that for gold. All you need is just the storage place, really, and the insurance costs. For crypto, there are so many nuances, which means the crypto is susceptible to externalities, to exogenous events, to natural calamities, if that makes sense. And lastly, I think, which is also quite important, it's, for my personal liking, it's way too volatile. I don't want my safe haven asset or my defensive asset to decline by 30-40% in a single month. That's why I don't classify crypto as a replacement for gold or as digital gold. I don't think it satisfies that criteria for me. Because if your asset class is down by 40%, it would need to rise by 67% to get back to the original place. Most retail investors don't understand how this works. If it is down by 70%, then it would need to rise by 233% to get back to the original spot. Down by 50%, simple words, needs to rise by 100%. So you get the picture. So I want my safe haven asset to behave like one. As I mentioned before, we have seen some volatile bouts within the gold and precious metal, but that level of volatility is nowhere near what has been witnessed around crypto. Bitcoin in particular is down about 45% since October last year, and that's why it doesn't really cut it for me. I hope this gives you a decent idea of why I personally favor gold over crypto. It's also worth bearing in mind that this video is not about crypto bashing, but it's about better understanding the mechanics and properties and attributes of both asset classes. To me, Bitcoin is a speculative asset, whereas gold is a defensive safe haven asset, and it has done its job for investors over the longest time frame. As I said before, it's backed by 5,000 years of history. If this video has helped you better understand the mechanics around crypto and gold, please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. All the best.